and I'm cranking it because that means we're running power. What's going on? We're standing in front of our next project car. I'm going to call it the Fried Banana because we're in New Mexico.
Yeah, and the whole car looks fried.
Yeah, we're going to try to get it running today, or
running.
I mean, like firing.
Yeah, see if
I
the
guess.
Engine's not just complete garbage.
Yeah, so it does rotate, but today the goal is to get it running.
We want sparks and bangs.
Yeah, and basics is the fuel, air, and spark. So we're going to start with making sure we can crank it, because everyone says you need fuel, air, or spark, but we also need compression. We need it to rotate and have no vacuum leaks, and there's a lot of unplugged vacuum times on this. So it's going to be first getting the new battery in it, and then turning the key and seeing what happens. And if nothing happens, go from there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can get the battery in, at least have it rotate, the starter rotate it. And then I think we'll pull the carb off, make sure it's working in okay shape.
We'll see. I feel pretty hopeful.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm being overly optimistic.
Yeah.
But
also, let's do a disclaimer. Me and Daniel know nothing about these engines.
Zero.
I didn't know anything about Volkswagen engines before we started working on it. So this is you're going to be watching us learn, and feel free to chime in the comments if we do something wrong, because I have nothing. I looked up a little bit about these. I know there's a triangle in there that spins.
Looks like a Dorito.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we're basically just going off of the knowledge that we know on how to get an engine running. Go watch the last episode. We kind of just went through this whole car, how we got it.
Yeah.
And so now we have time. We're going to get this thing hopefully running. So we'll see. We're going to start with putting a battery in it. Yeah, and hopefully it does something. All right. Obviously just picked up some random battery. The cables look like they're good, and I'm going to make sure that this red one is going to power, because
you just never
know. Someone could have put it wrong, but it looks like it's going. Yeah, it's going straight down into the starter, and this ground one is going straight to the engine block. So black is negative and red is positive. So we know. No one has did it backwards.
Yeah,
because that would be the first thing that we do, and it would be the worst thing.
Yeah, so just cook the whole system.
Yeah. So we're gonna put it where it goes, and we're gonna get at least the battery hooked up, and hopefully, actually, let me make sure the key's not like.
Did you get yourself?
Yeah. Okay. These are garbage, but I think we have a decent connection.
Just put the wrench on both sides to see if it works.
All right, I'm gonna just turn the key and
just do it.
See it if it catches on fire. Then.
Hold on, let me grab the camera and then I'll.
Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta. Let me just show you guys. All right, so real quick, there was an old Viper security system wired in here, and this is all the wiring. I ripped it all out, but there's traces of it left. So these two ignition wires, they stripped back the insulation completely. So knowing that these are definitely the ignition and starting wires for the key. So I'm just going to let those not touch anything. But then we also have this one that I think needs to still be hooked up, but we're going to see what happens. If not, I'm just going to quickly connect those. But I'm pretty sure that needs to be connected as well real quick. But anyways, that's the remnants of someone installing a security system and just botching the wiring.
Yeah.
So we're just going to turn the key real quick and see what happens. And if anything catches on fire, I'll watch it here, but I don't. Yeah, there's not even power. There's nothing. So that's what we're wanting to fix first is to get
where like, is it a fuse, do you think?
That's the one thing I'm worried about is the wiring and making sure we have the connection. So we're going to get a multimeter out and start probing. And I also just brought a jumper, so if we need to, we could just at least just crank it. So yeah, there's no power coming to these. which doesn't surprise me, because this is like the main harness here. None of that has power.
Which one does?
None.
Oh, none of them
have power.
You seeing anything?
Not yet.
You gonna use the jumper?
Yeah. The jumper connected to the starter relay. If I push this, hopefully it cranks. Yep.
Oh.
Okay. So we have power to the starter.
Okay. Starter is working technically.
But now I need power to
the ignition, right?
Ignition.
You're just pulling the spark plug out now.
No. Yeah, we're gonna just pull a spark plug.
To pull that out.
And then I'm gonna see if it sparks at the plug.
Yeah.
Because we have the key on, but I don't think it is.
It's probably not powering the
there's
coils.
no wire, like, yeah, there's very minimal wiring on this engine. So, or not a lot of stuff hooked up.
Which is great if you're the one who disconnected everything and
but somebody got in here and
just started
pulling stuff, and now we're backtracking, and I know nothing of these cars, so, and I just lost a
plug wire.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do this, and I don't think it'll have anything, but we're gonna see. Oh yeah, there's a hole there. Whew. Nothing. We're going to find the ignition wire now. So we have the turning, but we have no spark. And I think before we even dig into it, I'm just gonna pop the cap off and make sure.
I mean, it sounds like there's plenty of compression.
It's sounding like it's.
I mean, that was free moving.
I mean, no wonder. Look at that wire. It's all broken.
Just mangled.
Just broken up, yeah.
Clean though.
It's not bad.
What about these ones here?
Never. This thing's insane. Holy shit. I've never. That's a rotor for you, that's for sure. I mean, it looks somewhat new. No obvious signs of it being
corrosion.
destroyed. And then it's all electronic. So that's spinning. Cool. Well, so we know it's spinning at least. Now we're gonna check. Well, yeah, I think, like I said, there's no real wires connected to anything that would indicate like an ignition wire. So we might have to jump it off of. We might just have to jump it straight from the battery or something to the ignition wire for now. Then try to actually run it through the whole system.
Yeah.
So basically we're going to go direct power to the coils. That's that black and yellow wire. So that was the same wire that was down there. So if I can get that up here and power to it, or connect it. Yeah, we're gonna take I think I have a jumper wire. So I think the plan is the power wires to these coils. It's a black and yellow wire, which is the same wire that's down at the starter. So I'm going to jump the power. So off of my trigger here, I'm going to connect that yellow and black wire to this. So that way it gets power only when we're cranking. So we can test for spark. Obviously when we let off, there won't be any more, so it won't run. But it'll be a quick test to see if we're getting at any spark at all.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get under there,
see if the coils are good.
connect those to that wire that I'm assuming is the right one.
Cool.
We'll see.
Let's see it.
Okay. So that's still connected.
So what Mike basically did was he hot wired the battery to the coil.
Yeah.
Just to see if we can get spark off the the screwdriver, which it does not look like.
Oh, what? Oh, no. Well, come here. So,
yeah,
I hot-wired that ignition wire is on, and we actually have...
We have power? Oh.
Something. So only when we crank, because I'm making the connection through that black and yellow one. You know what I want to try is I'm going to crank it, and then you just turn the key on like that. When I tell you to go ahead and crank it, I'm going to crank the engine and see if something happens. I don't know how scientific this is, but... All right, you ready?
Yeah, ready?
Yeah, crank it. Turn it on.
Okay.
Nope. Okay. Turn it back. Well, just so it's not cranking. Okay, so that means the wire that we connected is getting power during cranking. So we need to find... We might have got somewhere. This should show you. This wire is powered, like cranking powered, and then we've plugged in this white and yellow and black and white and red and black and yellow. And when we go to turn it now, it doesn't do anything on the dash, but it
It lights up on the dash.
Oh, it is? I can't see the lights.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have lights on there, but obviously it's not going to crank because I have it disconnected from the starter because we're using the controller to turn it, but we should have spark now. We're going to see. So Daniel's going to turn the key and I'm going to push the crank. Ready?
We're doing.
There it is. Okay. So we're somewhere now. There's spark happening when Daniel has the key turned and I'm cranking it because that means we're running power to the ignition, and then it's running the power through those wires back to the coils
Into the distributor.
So that's a good start. So what we're going to do is, this is just to see what happens, but we're going to spray some starter fluid in there. We're going to hook it up. I'm going to crank, he's going to turn, and basically if anything happens, he can turn the key off and shut it off. So let's...
Where's the fire extinguisher?
There isn't one. No, I don't know, actually.
Yeah. Oh, it's right there. I see it.
Oh, yeah, we have one.
Quick jump.
Yeah. I think we'll be okay, though. I'm going to just go... Psst, psst, and if it does anything, cool. And if it doesn't, I don't know. So we're going to set this up, and hopefully we have something happen.
Okay.
All right, so we have, to recap, the wire jump for the coil. So that has power, direct power to the ignition key. To then when we start it, it's sending power from the key through to the coils to the spark plugs. And I'm controlling the starter because the wiring is all messed up anyways, and we'll figure that out later.
Yeah.
So you're gonna turn the key.
Tell me when.
All right.
Ready?
Okay. Go. That started.
Yeah. You want to do it again?
Yeah, of course. Okay, you ready?
I'm on.
Fucking did it.
Maybe the kid wasn't lying.
Okay, so... I mean, did he really figure that out? I doubt it.
Yeah. I don't quite understand.
Well, that just made this video so much quicker.
Yeah, that's satisfying.
Fuck! It just did. It just popped off, obviously, with starting fluid, and that's not good for these engines. I do know that we need to definitely gonna run a 2-stroke mix, right, and make sure everything's oiled, because you'll burn that stuff up quick. So we're not gonna keep doing that, even though that was super cool and exciting, and I want to run it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just started, and it wasn't getting power, so it's not doing anything. If that makes sense. So the starter, I'm running a switch from power to the starter, and then the wire that was plugged into that thing that I'm jumping needs power, but we're not getting power to it. This all makes sense. This is some in my head. We're just gonna do a quick plug, unplug, and try it with the key real quick and see what happens. But I'm optimistic. I'm not optimistic. That. I mean, it's cool that that's working. Ah!
What'd you do?
Button?
I didn't touch anything.
Oh, I shorted. Oh, I just touched the wrong thing. Okay, so our progress now is when we do the key, it'll start. But also it says headlamp is still on and the reverse lights are on. So that's the key's out, even though it's still there.
Yeah. But also we should show, we took the alternator cord and
yeah. So let me show
let's
you.
show them what
This
we
is
did.
obviously not the solution.
Right.
But I wanted to see if we could get, basically the goal is to get the key to crank it to see if at least some of that works. So we pulled the alternator wire power off. And
Sparks.
lots of sparks. So we pulled that off of the alternator because this wire is going to be power while the car's running.
Yeah.
So it's basically simulating if the alternator was making power.
Juice.
Because that was the only wire I could get to right now. I'm still trying to find the other one. But yeah, if we put this straight to power, yeah, everything kind of comes on, which makes sense because that would be on because the engine is running technically. So right now the car is as if the engine's running is the power. That makes sense for simulating it. So that's cool. So that means that's all working when we turn it and it starts off of the key. So now it's tracing this wire, which will be, what color is that one on the other side? Not the white and red one, but the black and yellow?
I think that's black and white.
Wait,
which one?
Off of this plug.
The red and white, black and white, and then inside, it looks like
this
black
right
with the
here.
yellow stripe.
This is black and yellow.
I think that's black and white.
That's black and white. This one is black and yellow for ignition. So the black and white wire, which for some reason goes to black and yellow to the ignition, but black and white is the next one we need to find because that one connected to power will give us starting power. So, if that makes sense. So the black and white one that I have found nowhere. Anyways, we're going to dig into more of that because now the goal is to just get it to crank like it should do it.
Yeah.
So not
Just to work correctly without jumping
basically-
anything, right?
Yeah. Basically, whatever wire needs power to make sure it has power. And that one we might have to jump, but that one's going to be jumped in the sense of like it can stay connected and then that's it.
Yeah.
Every time we crank it and it actually starts, the system will work. So we're going to hook up the alternator wire back up to the alternator. We're going to trace down that black and white wire that's coming from under the dash out into the firewall and find that one and give that one power. And we should be able to start it and it'll start up
Stay running.
and stay running.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's a good goal. Start it.
Yeah, because we have the starter now, we're not using this switch anymore.
Yeah.
So that's I'm actually gonna undo that. So we got that to however it was hooked up before, I guess it's working. And it's stuck down there. Okay. So we'll come back to that. We're gonna trace on that wire.
Yeah, we'll bring you guys back in once we if this works.
Well, we had some success today. We got it to fire off and run. I mean, I'm going to call that running for a second. Now we're just I'm being a little more picky what we need to be because we want to get it to crank with the key. So I think as we saw, we had it started and fired off as we held the key in ignition or cranking. And then once you let off, it would shut off. Then we got it to crank. And then once you let off, it'll stay running for a split second. But that's due to the fact of us jumping the alternator wire, which is more for when it's running. That's the power wire that runs the whole thing. So we're still trying to source and find the wire that is the constant, the one that is always basically on until you turn the key. That's the one we're looking for because that's going to be power on and then crank it and let it off and it keeps running because we can't obviously run it just off this alternator wire. I mean, I guess if we wanted to, we could just build another one to the battery.
Yeah, it seems.
But that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I mean, it's shortcutting something that whatever.
Yeah, it's all there. So basically, the cool thing is the ignition system works.
Yeah.
I mean, it had great spark. It fired off really quick. I mean, we're dumping starter fluid down it. and starting fluid is more volatile.
Right,
But I mean, it took nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
and in fact, when we had it directly to the thing and we got it to start with the key and stay on, it wanted to stay running. It only shut off because it ran out of whatever fuel was in there.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get the carburetor situated next.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even bolted really down.
Yeah,
And it's not bolted. And there's some vacuum lines.
Yeah, it needs a lot of work. And we definitely want to figure out and just get the wiring. So we know if we jump it and do all that stuff, it'll work. So now we just have to make something that's permanent that we can run it, and then we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, basically, so it's not like jump out, pull the wire to start.
Yeah. We just want it to start, because then that's done. Yeah. And then really it's just focusing on the fuel and the carburetor.
Some of the headlights worked. The horn does work.
So the lights, the tail
lights
work.
The brake lights, the horn the blower motor, the radio turned on. The headlights, I think just the electric motors, I know they just need to be cycled and they'll probably start working again. Whatever that adjustment. They're a little warm from being turned on and off because for some reason when we hook power, those click on initially. So I'm thinking that's also like a safety thing where like they are always on to just so they can be on if like the key's turned off. But cool thing is it's running.
It's running.
I mean, I was worried it wouldn't even do what it did.
Yeah.
And it took us just jumping some wires. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a successful video for now that this car at least ran on starter fluid. And obviously the fuel system, as I was going to say, is a long story. There's no fuel tank. Supposedly it was rusted where it wasn't fixable. Now that we know that this kind of fires, I still think we'll have Brian come over and do a compression test just to confirm that it does have compression and it's worth it, but it started off real easy. So I'm pretty excited that we'll be able to get this going easy. Again, stay tuned. And the ending question for this episode is, man, I'd say specifically if you know RX-7s, what's the best carburetor for them? Let me know.
That's a good one.
If you're watching this, and if you know of if you had any quick hacks on wiring to get a car running, let us know. Tell us a story if you have it of like,
or even just a resource that
jumping certain things to get home or whatever. Let us know, because this isn't that big of a mess, but it is a mess. And so let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.